how do we counteract that? So I try and create these really fun environments. And so I got up this morning and I had great music playing and then it was like, boom.
Yeah, I know that feeling where you set the intention and you do all the right things and it just you still get knocked about.
I don't believe that the people that have created this, so they're giving out a virus that sheds and they don't know where it's shedding. They wouldn't do that if they didn't have some way of protecting themselves.
Well, everyone, welcome to our October 2021 full moon podcast with our special guest, Laura, who's joining us as a local regional coordinator from our favourite group, Voices for Freedom. I think it's fair to just start off by saying you don't represent Voices for Freedom.
No, they...
and we're going to just hear your opinion on things.
We're talking about me, my opinion.
But that's how I met you, and in turn how Rob has come to know you as well, and it's lovely to get to know you too. And I'd love to hear your story on what brings you here to this point in your life. And in support of the Full Moon podcast, I think we might have some massive energies to talk through.
Yeah, well, there's massive energies moving around at the moment. You can feel them. And I'll start with this. I put a little post up on my Awakened Waihi group and I said, there's a storm coming because there's a storm brewing at the moment. Can you feel it? We have two choices. I see it.
Yeah.
We can either learn to dance in the rain or we can get washed away in the flood. So I've got my dancing shoes on. Who wants to party? You know?
Right.
So we are in such, let's say, dark times. It's so hard for everybody, no matter what side of the fence you're sitting on at the moment. I think everybody can feel it. Some people just don't understand it. Yeah, there's a storm coming. Is it? Jim Rohn said, the storms are going to come and pass. It's how you set your sails. You know, so this is coming. People have been studying that like this for years. You know, I've met people who've been down rabbit holes for 30 years that know way more than me, and we're all on different levels of our understanding of how deep it goes. It doesn't matter how much you know or don't know. It's how you're going to set yourself, how you're going to get through this, and I think that's kind of where we're at now.
What's one or two examples of what there is to get through? Because you see, you can say those things and Rob and I go, and we nod, yep, because we know what you mean. But someone hearing this for the first time who may not have any understanding to this kind of topic, what on earth could you be talking about?
What am I talking about? Well, let's go to the heart of it for me at the moment. I'm a teacher. So the heart of it for me at the moment is no jab, no pay, because I refuse to have an experimental concoction put into my arm.
Fair enough.
And as a coordinator for Voices for Freedom, I'm also dealing with a number of other people who feel the same. And I don't know if I can say this, but after the announcement, no jab, no pay, we had 3,600 people suddenly register under our membership. So there's a lot of people.
Wow.
And it's growing. You know, it wasn't just boom there. It's our rate of people registering with us is increased significantly. But, you know, I've had phone calls from people and heard stories from people that don't want this, and you know they're single mums, and they've come to me and said, I have got a knot in my stomach. I've done the maths. I don't want to get this, but how am I going to keep a roof over my child's head? And I want the people who are backing this to look these people in the eye like I have. What am I supposed to say to them when there are principals out there that have said to me, I'm following the one source of truth? I have had that said to me by a principal.
Unbelievable.
So I I don't know if I have to be careful what I say now. I'm at the end of the day, I'm going to lose my job pretty much. So do I still need to be politically correct? I don't know. I've almost got beyond that now. You should hear me where I'm working. I'm having quite open. I'm not being closed about the fact that I'm Voices for Freedom member. And people have said to me, because we have our class list out for next year, and they're like, "Oh, you're doing this here," and I've said, "Well, I might not be here," and they're like, "What do you mean?" And it's like, well, unless the government changed their mind, I could be getting a redundancy notice pretty soon.
How does that affect your colleagues, you think?
I know exactly how it affects my colleagues because they've come to me because I've been so vocal, and it's
wow.
It is. There are people that I know who have family members that have had very bad reactions to this, so they don't want it. They've seen the bad reaction, and they don't know what to do. Some of them are feeling forced. Like some people have already fallen. That they've gone right. Oh, I just can't fight this anymore, and they've had their first jab. And we're each on our own journey, and we each have to find our own strength and do what we need to do. So I salute anybody that's no matter what. But I think the hardest one for me is that there's some people that are really resolute. They're not going to, like I am. There's no way in hell that's happening to me. And I've had them come up to me and say, "This is the best job I've ever had. I work in special needs." They love those kids. I've worked there for 11 years. I know a good person working with these kids, and then I know a not so good person working with these kids. We have an amazing team. They love those kids. They have kids at home. They finished with their toys. They bring them in for the class kids. They'll go out shopping. They'll see something. They'll buy it and bring it in for their kids.
That's dedication.
They love their job beyond measure. And you can put another body into the room, but not everyone has got the passion that some of these people have. No. It's going to affect a lot of schools hugely.
So people might be thinking, yeah, sure, so the lady loves what she does and she knows people who loves what she does, but really what's so bad about getting this vaccination? We're all the team of 5 million. We've got to pull together, right? I mean, obviously this is how we get rid of this disease.
Yeah. So my answer to them at the moment has been, what does a democratic society mean to you? Because I believe that we are supposed to be living in a democratic society. Does that mean that we have open debate as a democratic society? I have been listening different scientists, different doctors, different nurses, and they have a different opinion from the one source of truth. And it could be that the one source of truth is right, but what if it's not? And isn't a democratic society built so that you can have an open debate? Mainstream media, this is where your job should be being, in my opinion. Mainstream media's job, Google's job, YouTube's job is not to pay somebody $21 an hour to fact check a scientist.
Is that all they get?
Yeah, I've seen adverts for them. So.
Oh, that's what they're paying?
Yeah.
It says on Seek.
Yeah, various.
Oh, wow.
I've seen various different ones. $21 an hour, fact check.
Opportunity of a lifetime. Correct scientists, medical professionals with years of study, passion, and you can tell them they're wrong for $21.
Yeah, so in a democratic society, I don't think that would happen. I think you would put the scientists, let's just use Robert Malone for one scientist. Mm-hmm. So he claims to be the inventor, or at least part of the team that created the mRNA vaccines.
Okay.
He's all for vaccinations. He's actually spent 30 years of his life developing and making and in that area of study. He doesn't think that these should be given to humans.
No kidding.
Because of autoimmune dependency. So,
is that the same as ADE?
Yes. Yeah.
I think autoimmune dependency, enhanced dependency.
Yeah, that's the one.
AED.
AED, yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to see these people on TV having a debate so that I don't have to debate them with my family and I don't have to debate with my employer about why I don't want it. It should be covered. Whether this guy is right or whether... And then that leads me to the fact that the truth doesn't need to hide.
It's a really neat old trick, isn't it, where they say, we're not going to debate with you. You're not worthy of being in discussion with us. You don't know the science, and we're here from the government, and we do. And then if people just buy that with some giant mass trance hypnosis of some sort of countrywide white coat syndrome where the person in the white coat is a kind of a god, then if we buy that, we are effectively all folding because we're not opening our minds to hear any other version than the PR that spat at us.
I'm trained as an art teacher and I love Leonardo da Vinci, and he had some lessons in life, and one of the words he is curiositer. Question everything. So don't just believe me. Don't just believe the one source of truth. Question everything. Research everything. Look into everything. And if Robert Malone was just the one scientist, you'd probably go, okay, he's a quack, he's lost his head, let's move on. But Mike Eden, he is former CEO of Pfizer. Again, 30 years experience working in the industry, developing these vaccines, different technologies. He's saying exactly the same thing as Robert Malone. So you now have two very, very distinguished... Well, I'm sorry, if you fact check them, they'll probably be not so distinguished, but I've looked past the fact checkers and gone, they actually have a huge amount of credentials behind them. I wonder what they've got to say. And it's a very different message.
I don't think you can trust factcheck.org or Wikipedia anymore. No. It's clearly bought and paid for. Yeah. We're
at war. It's an information war.
Yeah. And I was going to allude to that. There is so much information out there. Disinformation, misinformation. It's like a minefield. How do you discern what is real and right? But if you are curious and open-minded and looking the opposite of what's being told, look at both sides, then you will uncover alternative viewpoints, alternative information, and then you can then make quite a good assessment once you've gathered and done your research. But I think a lot of people are just trusting the powers that be to do that for them and just follow that. And what I find a lot is when you just talk to people, they often just regurgitate, or I call it parrot back, what they've been told through the main media channels or on TV or whatever. They don't actually come up with an original thought about things or get more curious about it and go, hang on a minute, let me just do my own investigation and research, and you can compare that to anything. Maybe you've got some illness and you want to get a second opinion, you're concerned about something that's happening in your health, you take that responsibility and then you start asking questions, start researching and become more knowledgeable about it. And when you do get a bigger picture and you can observe it, then you can kind of see more about what's really going on. I love what you raised before we jumped on. There is an antidote to everything. And so it's important to acknowledge that and remember that we can get so caught up on where we are or where we could be heading, but how do we navigate towards something that's going to feel better for us and lift our spirits, I suppose, because we are reaching a real as you say, there's a storm, there is a storm happening and we're all in it. We're all caught up in it.
Yeah.
I'm certainly seeing people's personalities and characters changing amongst those that I know who have received it. And that concerns me. It's like a growing loss of empathy in the way they talk to others. And it's a shame. I've not lost any care or concern for them, and I really deeply worry about them. But I've also had a huge shift since we last caught up, actually. And Rob's heard me talk about this in our personal conversations, but I've really started to let go of my expectation and my need to tell people, hey, look at this, or look at this video, or this is really concerning. You don't want to be hurt by this or that. And here's some information that's been presented by a professor. Here's another person. Look at these multiple sources of people concerned, and they hold qualifications that should concern you, that they might be on to something. I've had to let it all go because I've come to the conclusion it's not my soul's duty in this lifetime to change other people. It may more have something to do to help with those that are left behind survive and to flourish and to heal, and maybe, I don't know. That doesn't seem to have an end to the sentence, but it's not necessarily to do with being the person that holds the sign and says, look out.
I think all of us call it awakened souls. We're all like that at the moment. We know that we're here for a reason and that we're awake to it for a reason. And just trusting in the Great Spirit that doors will open up. And since I became a coordinator for Voices for Freedom, so many different doors have opened up. And I just want to backstep a little bit in that what you were talking about, how you feel like people have changed, that the empathy has gone from some people. And I've seen some real ugliness coming from people that I would never imagine would be like that. So we did a pop-up sign holding the signs for Voices for Freedom, and some very nice people masked up, cycled by, and called us the rudest names under the sun. And, you could tell by their appearance, their dress, what they were wearing. They were, obviously well-educated, those people. So our response to them was, stay safe, have a nice ride. Because there's so much ugliness, we don't need any more ugliness. And in saying that, in the ugliness, in that lack of empathy coming from certain people, there's this flip. Some people are just blossoming and the most amazing, beautiful stuff is starting to happen. So I think about my life I'm leaving a double life. So first of all, it's like, you hear about people who lead double lives and they've got two partners and living two different houses. And you think, how do they do that? It's like, oh, right, I'm doing that now. Okay, I've got that. Teacher, have to be good, proper by day, and then I guess conspiracy theorist. You can either call me a conspiracy theorist or a freedom fighter, is the other
It loses
extreme.
its sting, honestly.
Yeah.
It used, a term created, I think, in the 60s by the CIA so that you wouldn't believe the kinds of things people were concerned about in that time, whether it was the arrival of aliens or that JFK maybe wasn't shot by a bullet that made several different turns on its journey.
Yeah.
Because, they wanted to make people think they were crazy. And now when you see things with an open mind and you can see the difference between the BS on the news and something that's delivered with sincerity and a lot of information behind it, you're a conspiracy theorist because you can see through this stuff. And I think you got to wear it as a badge of honor. It's a compliment. You go, oh, so you can tell that I can see the world with an open mind and you can't. Fine.
Yeah. Another lady at work was saying to me, with this no jab, no pay, it's like, am I being selfish? I keep questioning myself. Am I being selfish? Should I just go out and, get the jab? And then it's like, well, there's just too much, what if they are wrong? What if there's too many what ifs? There's too many.
Well, we see a lot of people who are quite caring, genuine individuals who are being absolutely targeted by the Be Kind campaign. And
be kind, but only if you're double jabbed.
Yeah, and do it for your whānau, and do it for your family, and care about society. You wouldn't want to hurt others. And this pings a lot of programs in people, because what sort of monster are you if you want to hurt others? No, well, of course, all right, I've got to go do my bit. And a lot of people who are falling for that campaign, who haven't actually looked at the science, that it makes no sense, and to give that some context, clearly a disease that kills far less than 1% of people. And those that are determined to be diagnosed but don't even know they've even got it. There's issues with the testing, clearly, and there's issues with the concerns of the numbers that are stated. There's so many issues that if you look at it with a clear head, you go, I'm not even in a risk factor group here, and this supposed answer doesn't even reduce transmission. So there's no difference being in a room next to someone who's vaccinated or unvaccinated in terms of which one's going to spread it. So therefore, with an open mind, you wouldn't necessarily run out and take it.
Well, you could even argue that actually if you're vaccinated, it reduces your symptoms. So you're less likely to stay at home. So you're more likely to go in. You know, you can argue this kind of stuff all around the clock.
But that's a really good point, though. I mean, and not only that, if you get some sort of antibody improvement for just several months, and then technically you're unvaccinated again, you'll have to come in for another one.
Yeah.
Then maybe for a couple of months you have less noticeable symptoms, so you're now walking around spreading it to more people.
Yeah.
At least if you're sick, you go, I'm not feeling good, I'm going to go for bed.
And but the whole thing that unvaccinated people are selfish and they're going to spread it to somebody else, or they don't care enough to do this for somebody else. Can you tell that to a doctor and a nurse who don't want it, who've spent some of them their entire careers trying to save and look after people? Schools, teachers that I know, and I know a lot of them, obviously, being a teacher, they're the most giving people. Like, the stuff teachers do that the parents have no idea. The most caring, the most, supportive, the last thing that we want to do, the last thing I want to do is to make somebody else sick and not care for them. Care workers are being brandished with the same brush if they don't. It's like...
Thanks for bringing
mind boggles.
Thanks for bringing it back to that, right? Because that pulls it back full circle to what I really wanted to get to with that information, was people who identify in themselves their caring nature, and they know why they're here to serve and help a younger generation or people who are sick, teachers, nurses, and so on, in their lives running their purpose to serve others and to be a good person. They're really hurt by this campaign because it really targets their sense of who they are as a person, which they have an identity built around them. I'm a caring, loving, helpful person. I wouldn't want to hurt anyone else. That's what saddens me the most, is they're targeting some of the best people, some of the nicest, most agreeable, caring people. And they have to find in themselves a kind of a chutzpah and a little bit of iron balls to go, no, this makes no sense. And in fact, if I stay healthy by not getting it, I'm in a better position to help others.
Yeah.
But it's hard because it's pinging all those fears for them, what it means to be them.
Yeah.
And that's a program we talk about a lot.
Yeah. And it's worth looking into why certain groups are being targeted in that way, to question that. Why are certain groups in society or are being targeted first, and what the logic and reasoning is behind that. But I also just wanted to mention, like, the whole healthy natural immunity equation has just been thrown out the door, And then, in my opinion, by bringing in something artificial, some concoction into your natural immunity, will compromise it. So for me, that doesn't make sense.
If you look at Robert Kennedy Jr.'s website, Defense Against the Children, so he's an environmental lawyer who was working with mercury poisoning in water. And then somebody put this huge big slab of autistic kids folder on his desk, and he was like, well, why have I got that? And they're like, well, mercury poisoning and vaccinations. I don't know enough about that to really talk deeply on it, but I do know that America is the most vaccinated country in the world, and 1 in 50 of those children have autism. So we're talking about programming. I mean, I don't have a TV. Somebody said the other day there's a reason why it's called a TV program and a channel, because it's channeling the program that whoever's in control of it does. So I don't have a TV, but I know every flu season, the flu ads will come on, program you into, flu season's coming, I'm going to get sick, you get sick, take this product. The Latin meaning of the word doctor actually means teacher, and it's supposed to teach you how to stay healthy. A doctor's oath is do no harm, the Hippocratic Oath, do no harm. Yet every drug has a side effect. We cut, we poison. Antibiotics, anti means no, and biotic body, so no, not good for the body. Yet we've been literally programmed to move away from what your grandma used to do to take care of you, to just blindly leading what the doctor does. The doctor is trained, and I love doctors, I don't want to, but the doctors are trained by the pharmaceutical company that are making an awful lot of money prescribing drugs for a symptom, and that's kind of how we've now been trained. I don't take antibiotics. I can't remember the last time I took some antibiotics. It was probably before I came to New Zealand, and I've been in New Zealand for 17 odd years. But I know people younger than me that have taken more antibiotics in a year than I've taken in my life. But that's what they know to do. You get a sore throat, you go to the doctor, you get antibiotics. You get a headache, you go to the doctor, or there's no, okay, I've got a sore throat. What does that mean? What have I not done? How can I take care of myself? I'm getting a headache. Why am I getting a headache? Am I hydrated enough? Is it purely that I need to take a day off, drink a lot of water, rest, and then I'll, and in that we've been programmed that one something will solve a problem. But the alternative, like if you try and do something alternatively, it takes a bit of time to undo what you need to do. So there's not that quick fix. So that's why I was thinking, quick fix. We've become a quick fix. Don't take responsibility. Go to somebody else. And that's been programmed into us.
Yeah, we've lost touch with our own ability to, as you say, take responsibility for our health. So it's a quick fix. And I feel like, and this has been going on for years and years, that, and you mentioned America especially, I mean, we must be the most highly medicated species, ever to exist, where you can go into a pharmacy and there's literally aisles and aisles of everything you can possibly think of to take for something. You never have to see a doctor or go in there. It means that you're doing something right, and your body will tell you, like you say, if it's got a sore throat, there'll be a reason for it. If you got aches and pains, there'll be a reason for it. And you can, do the research and understand and learn. And the body has such an incredible ability to heal itself if you allow it to and do the proper inner inquiry and have that connection. But I think that aspect of ourselves has been severed, and we've handed all that power over, and we've just become so used to that, in our very instant gratification society. We just want the quick fix. Treat the symptoms, mask the symptoms, but never actually understand the root cause of why we may be feeling the way we're feeling. And so the closer we get back to, this is just my opinion, to natural remedies and natural ways of healing, which is not to say there are, in the modern pharmaceutical arena, there's amazing stuff. I mean, but I feel like it's taken over.
Yeah.
Completely. And it's just making them rich. To put it simply.
Yeah, we don't have
business.
A health system. We have a multi-billion-dollar disease system.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. If you actually solve problems permanently, you don't have an ongoing way to make a person a subscriber to your drug or whatever process that you earn money from. You sort of remind me there of people who don't check in with themselves as to what's going on. We're shifting gears all over the shop here with different things philosophically, but it reminds me that some people are not even aware that just reacting to a headache or whatever it is and rushing out to see a doctor before even checking in with yourself could possibly be of any kind of damage, rushing out to go and get some antibiotics. I guess a responsible doctor is not going to give them to you if it's inappropriate, but there are some that just will. And people are just simply not aware of harm caused from the medical profession. And I say that with the greatest of respect to hundreds, thousands of doctors everywhere, many hearts in the right place. But even doctors themselves will acknowledge that there is harm from misdiagnosis, medical misadventure. There is a term for it. There's literally a term for medical harm. It's called iatrogenic.
It's
iatrogenic harm. And whether you know that word is iatrogenic or iatrogenic, depends how you say it, it means harm given by the doctor that's treating you.
Isn't it the third biggest killer in America?
Yeah.
It's
I'm not sure
heart disease,
whether it's
cancer, and then
iatrogenic harm.
Yeah.
Iatrogenic. Yeah, I learned about that in my Bachelor of Health Studies, and it opened my mind in a big way.
You know what I love, Steve? You always pull out those big words. I learn something every time.
Thank you.
I learn a new word. That's my new word.
Yeah. Shall I spell it for you?
Yeah, you'll have to.
I'll send you a text. We'll put it in the show notes. Yeah. There we go. So let's shift gears again. Obviously you have your own personal beliefs that make you open-minded to what's going on, and you probably found yourself, and I say this because you've shared a little bit of this with me, at some point on your own. And you mentioned reflecting on your life up to this point and now opening up to a whole new group of people who actually know I feel as you do. And if you're listening to this and you think you're alone, what I'm getting at is I think there's value in looking at the Voices for Freedom website. Now, you're a regional coordinator for one of the groups. Voices for Freedom, though, have tremendous resources and they do tremendous presentations. Many weeknights at about 8 p.m. you can jump on a Zoom call simply by giving your information to Voices for Freedom to register for that call. And I've enjoyed the emails that come to me that tell me who's on this evening, which doctor, which professor, which person from a union or an employment lawyer is there to help advise what's going on. Actually, I must be careful with the word advice. They give tips and general information because you're not engaging them as a client, but they're very, very helpful. And they're run by lawyers who really know what they're doing. You asked me sort of where did I come from? I was on my own, and I had health problems when I was in my 20s. I looked for alternatives because the main medical reason wasn't working. And a lot of people that are awake have had similar journeys or had family members with similar journeys. So I was in the school holidays. Well, the first lockdown, I loved the first lockdown. I was exhausted, so I was just on my property, took the time to meditate, fast, And but at the same time, I thought there's something going on. There's something not right here. I knew there was something not right. It's like never in history before have been locked down for a virus, and what's really going on, because I don't know anybody personally that had passed away from it. Even like all my family's in the UK, so it didn't really hit New Zealand as such. What was our total number of COVID deaths in New Zealand? I can't remember. Is it around 30 something?
Something. So I started looking at different information, and that I got that if you've not been down the rabbit hole, you just cannot even conceive the evil that is going on. So I went down the rabbit hole on my own, thinking, oh my gosh. And anyway, then we went back to work, and sort of life gets in the way, and talked to a few people, and it kind of got worse and worse. And then I was in another school holiday, and I'd done so much research. I'd listened to all these different interviews with doctors, the ones that we've already named. Go on to Voices for Freedom if you haven't, because a lot of them have been interviewed on there. And it was just getting worse and worse. There are early prevention treatment methods for COVID that the PCR test shouldn't be used to do the job that it's doing, that it gives too many false negatives, and depending on the ampage of it, and I was like, okay, so there's probably not as many cases as there should be, and the people that have died of COVID, that wasn't the main source. There's, and I felt so alone because at that stage, all of my family in the UK double jabbed, all of my best friends that I went to uni with in the UK double jabbed, all of them telling me that I need to get this thing. And then it starts rolling out in New Zealand, and then my colleagues that I'm working for are, and what really broke my heart is they're taking their teenage kids to do it as well. And it's like, oh my God, am I the only person in the world that can see this? What's going, there's got to... So I'd heard of Voices for Freedom probably through Facebook, phoned up the local got the number, phoned up the local coordinator, bawled my eyes out. And she was like, you're not alone. And at that point I was like, what can I do? I feel so helpless. What can I do? And she was like, we need coordinators. And I was like, I'll be one. I was like, who said that? Because at that stage, for the last 4 years, I'd been very much on my own, hermit, don't want to go out, public speaking, no. But I was like, I've got to do something, otherwise I'm not going to be able to hide in my home, in my bubble. Which I was quite happy being at home on my own until it got enforced on me.
And we dislike it.
I was like, okay, you want me to stay at home now? I'm not doing that anymore. So that was how I got into this situation now where I'm doing podcast interviews for the first time in my life.
And speaking in front of ever-growing rooms of people.
Ever-growing rooms of people. And I mean, it's bringing so much strength out in people. I never thought that I would have that within me to do that. And not only that, I'm out, like, you went to the meeting the other night. So last weekend I was at a potluck barbecue where I think 60 odd people rocked up, and the guy there has got his own cheese factory and his own butchery, and and there's just this buzz of people creating the reality that they want, not what is being enforced on them. It's like, if you have got to do this, so then there's all these people that have gone, nah, I'm going to do this reality here. And this weekend I'm out again, different direction, same number of people. Some will be the same, but a majority of them will be new people. And
that just makes me smile ear to ear listening to you. I saw it on Rob's face as well. Creating their own reality.
I had my heart smiled, my soul smiled, and I thought, that's just music to my ears.
We're creating the reality.
It's what we're about. It's what humanity is about.
And one thing that a lot of us feel, and I know I feel, I'm like one small person. Who am I? What can I do?
But you're not.
It's like, I'm this little, I call it a glowworm. I'm this little bubble of light. And when I go over to Whangamata, I'm leaving this little cobweb of light. And then we have this big explosion of fireworks of all these people bringing their little bubbles of light together to create this. And then our little cobwebs go off around the world. And so, this weekend I'm off Tauranga way, taking my little bubble of light to join a lot of other. So the world's in a very dark space at the moment, but we're all these little glow lights creating these little bubble webs. And sometimes the webs get destroyed and we need to rebuild them, and sometimes they're really strong. And we're, the cabal, the Illuminati, want this black web of control. But there's all us little light workers going, yeah, you can do that, but this is my reality, and I'm going to take my little... And that's what it frustrates me that we can't change people's minds. It's like, I'm right. You've got to be able to see this. The sides have been decided, people. And there's no rhyme or reason that, I keep trying to find out what links this group of people together, because there's not one thing that really, apart from the fact that we can see what's going on, it's not religion.
Very different kinds of people.
Yeah, it's not religion, it's not wealth, it's not IQ. There's nothing that you can really put in to link us, but we're all here, and we're here for a reason. And I've been trying really hard with my meetings of looking for the reality that we want to create, and that joy, and that's what I feel I'm doing and been called to do for this moment. And it's gonna adapt. You know, everything has adapted, but I'm finally getting onto the whole reason I was starting this. So Voices for Freedom just wanted to get more people. They wanted people. They were feeling alone. They created this group, and they just want to find people that were on their own. So I was just on my own, quite happy really on my own, doing my own little thing, but struggling with the whole enormity of what was going on. And now I'm not a little... I'm seriously worried about the next Voices for Freedom meeting and the venue, because if it grows the way it has grown in the last 2 weeks, there's going to be way too many people there. And I need to have a real discussion about how we now handle, because a lot of venues won't have us. But they're all just little challenges, and it's just like... There's when we had the no jab, no pay, I had a group of friends come round to me, and it's like, you know, there's no way I'm going to do this. And the legacy that I don't have my own kids, but the legacy that I want to leave for the next generation is not enslavement or entrapment or enforced coercion, no matter who it's from. The line in the sand was drawn for me a long time ago. And was it the Dalai Lama said something like the Western women are going to be the ones which changed this whole thing?
Did he?
Yeah. And I have met Paula, who you interviewed, and there was another lady. There's a few of us, and we've all been these quiet sort of, and I can feel this energy, energy, and. There's a song that I love at the moment, and it's am I allowed to say advert?
You can say a song.
There's a song. It's One Lion's Roar. I think it's by a group called Rome, and it says it takes one lion roar to disperse 1 million sheep. There's 4 or 5 million people.
One lion roar.
Yeah.
Right.
So like we are just starting to learn how to roar at the moment, and God forbid anybody that gets in the way. Yeah. You know, and that's the kind of energy that's building. That's the kind of... So like this morning I was really excited. I get these really moments of excitement at the moment, and this real moments of strength. And then something will hit me, like what happened in work to me today. And you literally get knocked for 6. But there's this energy here. Very important at the moment to meet up with like-minded people.
Indeed.
And the bigger the groups, the more you feel empowered. And, you know, I got knocked for 6 today at work, but my recovery was way quicker than it's ever been because of the little light bulbs and the little cobwebs and the energy that all connects. And
what's that saying? Don't let the bastards grind you down.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. No, I heard it recently, and I remember hearing that years ago. Yeah. And it is a famous saying. Yeah, I can't remember who said it or whatever, but yeah, you're so right. It's so important to have a network of like-minded people that you can vibe with, that get you, you know, that like when you were explaining everything you were explaining, I was just, felt all of that. And it's like you're speaking my language without even having to speak.
And isn't that the funny thing? Like, my friend set now is completely new. And I mean, like, I've got some best friends now that I've known for, like, 2 weeks, 2 months. You know, if I need anything now, I'll go and call on them. There's other people, not necessarily that, they're not even necessarily if they've been vaccinated or not. They're safe in their bubble. And it's like, I can't, and I'm judging, so I then try and pull myself back, because you shouldn't judge at this time, but they're safe in their bubble, and it's like, I can't sit safe in my bubble, even before the teachers, no jab, no pay, knowing that port workers and defence workers that have fought for our country, that have fought for our freedoms, that are here to protect us. Again, caring individuals here to protect us. No jab, no job. Boom, you're out. I can't sit back and watch that. That I guess it's this I have this very strong right or wrong kind of attitude. It's like, so I was like, I have to get up and fight for this.
There's like a warrior, what I feel has been activated within you. And I feel like a lot of that's happened to a lot of people, and that's where you find the strength and the courage. And, you know, you're going, whoa, where's this coming from? But it's coming from a deeper place, I feel. And it's in alignment with what we've kind of known for years and years that this time would come. That, I mean, we talked about this, Steve, a year ago about the splitting and the new reality emerging and the people that want to, you know.
Yeah, check out episode 43.
Yeah.
Can I?
Yeah. And so you're either moving with that and embracing it and creating a new reality for you, and then allowing that as a collective for the people that want to do that, or you're going to get kind of left behind.
All this new friendship group are speaking like this, like they feel it's a feeling. You feel it inside you rather than a mental. And some of these people are so like fact driven. You know, they've done way more research than me, and they've got all the books and everything. But it's this feeling of okay.
Everyone's bringing their own strengths to the party.
Yeah, and we don't really know what the next step is. But it just, something happens, like you go somewhere, meet somebody, and right, you know. I knew the first Voices for Freedom meeting we had in a room that only held 40 people. And we had about 30 people. So that venue was out from then, you know, it was like we needed. So then I met somebody else and they were like, right, you can have it here. I've got room for, I think it was like 50 or 60 people could comfortably hold in that venue. So we had the meeting there, and it's like, I'm not sure if we'll have, something will come up. If something doesn't come up, we'll have it at that venue, but the meeting will be structured in a way that it won't be one person. All these like things just keep happening. And if I stop thinking too much about what I've got to do and what I'm meant to do and sit with the feeling, things are just happening. They're just boom. And
that's the old structure and paradigm, isn't it?
Very much.
The system control, very much. But yeah, when you start accessing all the other dimensions and facets of who you really are, then that sort of starts to happen.
Going back to that, I've said to a few people that this ends when the government folds. And they're like, well, but we need governments. How you know, people, we've never survived without them. And I said, and I didn't think anything, and then I went back and I sort of thought about it, and I was like, you know, the Hopi Indians and the Maoris and I learnt about the true deep meaning of whanangatanga. You know, how we're all in this together. And we should all, if you're in a tribe and all in it together, you sit down with our differing opinions, like some want to vaccinate, some don't, and you talk and you listen to each other's opinions, and you structure a way. Structure's not the right word, that's a 3D word. You evolve a way to stay together, unity, to stay united, supporting everybody in their common good and common way. And that has happened. We have, and I feel that's very much the way we're going. We've been under dictatorship, whether we realised it or not, for a long time, like generations. And the one that's coming through at the moment, you know, what we're living through at the moment, whether you can see it or not, we're in dictatorship, you know. But I see it like they're squeezing really hard and they're terrified because there's people like us that are going, no, I don't want that reality. I'm creating this reality.
And we can see what they're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, we can see how they make statements that induce fear into people. And now people are going, oh, no. Fool me once. You say you're going to go out into the streets and knock on our doors with members of the military and no. See, that didn't happen. You know, and by and large, the kinds of things they scare people with are not happening. And then they go, oh, we'll do this instead. And it's a less scary thing, but it's still an imposition. And we've actually got to look at that and go, no, not that either. No, that's not okay either.
Yeah.
And what's really going to blow their mind with what's coming is, in terms of the unity you're talking about and in the kinds of groups that are forming, is vaccinated people are joining them.
Yes.
Oh my God, that's going to blow their mind, isn't it? Because at what point do those people go, enough's enough? Well, maybe for some people it's after 1 or 2. Maybe it'll be after the 3rd, like in Israel. Maybe it'll be after the 5th. But they'll turn around and go, screw you. This is some fake shit.
And it's already, you know, just with the no jab, no job, I have teachers at work fully vaccinated that have come to me because they know my very
obvious stand.
And they're like, this is horrible. That, you know, they give me a hug. They're like, I don't agree with this. I'm pro-choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just add to that? I have a dear friend who occasionally listens to the podcast, and he'll know that I'm talking about him, and he, for his personal reasons, has chosen to be vaccinated. He's even said, oh, bro, I've got to get the second one too. And he described the situation for me, and he knows how I feel about it. But ultimately, he also knows that I'm pro-choice. It's your choice. I might not like it, but I absolutely stand by the idea of no discrimination. And he works in an environment that requires him to make these sorts of decisions, and that was the decision he made. But even he is going, I'm not liking this. I'm not liking the hysteria. I'm not liking the way the single source of truth is being forced at me, and I'm seeing the hysteria. I'm starting to see through it, and he's a super intelligent guy.
You know, there's people that are now getting this jab because of their jobs, and I say to people, no job is worth it. And they're like, what about my kids? I've got a family to support. And it's like, if my research is true, in 2 to 3 years' time, when you've quite possibly died through clotting and other side effects, who is going to look after your family then? So again, we've been programmed just to look at the next step, which is what I'm kind of what I'm doing with the whole Voices for Freedom. You know, I don't really know what I'm doing. It's just the next step. But I do have a bigger picture. I'll come back to that in a minute because I'm going to lose my train. This is that Aquarian energy, and add a full moon to it. It's just like wishy-washy all over the place. Anybody who's not awake will not make any sense of this interview. I apologise. I will never do one on a full moon again.
I can't believe we've got such a hippie in the room with us.
God, but if you'd known me when I was in my 20s, oh my God.
You forget you're on Reality Hub. We question reality. We want to know our truest self.
Yeah, so
we want to expand. We want to grow. We want to realize, you know, it's all that stuff, all that good stuff. Yeah.
So again, in our programming, it's like, okay, I have a wage, I've got to get to the end of the week, I've got to do my job, I do my groceries, get dum. So it's like, okay, I've got to get this jab to keep my job so I can keep the roof over my kids' heads or keep my family or whatever, which is a huge, you know, I know people that have gone out and had their first jab, and they literally come and apologize to me, and it's like, I love you. I still, you know, I'm not going to judge you because your shoes are different from mine. So, but looking at the bigger picture, with this being a trial and we don't actually really know, and you know, the doctors and stuff I've listened to could be wrong. We don't know. But the thing is, we don't know. So if you can get another job or something else, or, there's one girl, she, bless her, single mum, 5 kids, doesn't want to get it. And I said, move into my house. I live on my own. Things will, from my experience with what's happened to me, things just happen to look after you. And we've got to look at to really take care of your kids. And I don't know if I should even talk about it because I'm not a mum, and it's different when you have a mum. But look at the bigger picture. You get the jab. What happens if you have the worst side effect?
Yeah.
Who's going to look after your kids then? Is the job really that important? I know you need to pay your mortgage, but why don't step out in faith? And but that's everybody's mission. So that's their journey that they have to travel, and I shouldn't judge and force stuff on. And so I try to embrace it and say to them, but at the same time encourage them to hold the line. Hold the line.
Yeah.
It's the whole societal structure, the way it's been set up, so that you are basically a slave to the system. And it's hard to break out of that. It really is, because it brings up, your very, very existence. How do I survive? But I know so many people that have got, that are free-spirited, that follow their own path, and they're in this reality, but they're creating their own world, they're doing really well, flourishing, because they made a choice. And in the end, it is just a choice. Obviously, there could be compromises, sacrifices. One thing this whole emergency has taught me is, what fear am I carrying? And stuff has come up for me. So that's allowed me to address that and to work through that. I'm still working through it, and I still confront it, but it feels like, I know it is, it's strengthening me.
Yes.
So it's like having this, I'm built for this, I can do this.
I notice the way you call it the emergency.
And I like to call it the emergency.
I wonder if that's anything to do with that Netflix show, the Benedict Society.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Mysterious Benedict Society.
Mysterious Benedict Society.
Which curiously highlights exactly what we're going through in a very creative and fun way.
Okay.
Even if you watch the first couple of episodes and go, this isn't for me, they do a great job of, in the first 2 episodes, priming the audience to understand that there is an emergency, and the children that it bases the story around are all affected by the emergency. And there's billboards in the street like, don't forget the emergency. And I'm fascinated by the kinds of programming that's put out there into the world ahead of events taking place. It's just so interesting to speak to that, and why these things are coming out, foretold in a sense through the media that we see before the event takes place. That's maybe another discussion with another kind of expert, but can you see it? Can you see it, everybody? Can you see the reality being shaped in front of you?
Yeah, because there's levels to reality. And another thing I've learned is, where you place your awareness. Where are you placing your awareness? So energy flows where your attention goes. So that's really important at this time. So are you giving your awareness to the good stuff, looking after yourself, connecting with friends, with like-minded souls, or are you handing your awareness over to the emergency all the time? And getting drawn, as I say, into that drama vortex. And just getting pulled down into a low vibration, into a low energetic state. And then you feel, how do you feel? And I've said this before, I feel like, when you talk to people on the street, there's always been a sort of a low-level anxiety playing out in society, but this has really enhanced it, amplified it. And a lot of people are discovering, that the things that the dense energy that they've been holding on to is coming out for them to actually address. So I've noticed that as well.
And people need to be reminded of that, because they're being hijacked all the time. And this is something I want to finish up on. With the last week being such a big one for me, where shifts have taken place and I've come to certain places of acceptance where we're at, and that was hard. Coming out of that was a new sense of groundedness and letting go. And the lesson for me was not to get caught up in the fear and to see the fear that's being pushed out in front of us and to see myself reacting to it and to learn, oh, this is happening over and over now. I don't have to always react the same way. Do you have any wisdom on that can help people with dealing with fear?
Laura's wisdom.
Please.
So one thing that I say at the end of most of my meetings is there is so much that has been suppressed from us. So if you think about Tesla, and he has created an energy form, a free form of energy. And that's being suppressed from us. There are cars that can drive on water. It's being suppressed from us. There are amazing healing techniques, antidotes for things. It's being suppressed from us. So I see what's happening at the moment as this big boil. And it's popped now, man. It's popped. There's mess everywhere. And it's going to ooze and get worse for a while.
Yeah.
But we're just getting rid of that. And after that, there's going to be what I believe an amazing new world. Now, maybe this is my way of coping with it, but it's that creating your reality. So when I go into those bad states, first of all, I let myself go into those deep states. I'll talk about that in a minute. But I have this unwavering belief of this amazing new world. So we've already talked about the split timelines. So there's the split timeline of doom and gloom, and then there's this split timeline. And on the documentary that I saw about it, this timeline was going up to the light, to the heavens. So I see what's happening in the world is this crusty, horrible, dense, evil energy that we've been living in has broken, it's fallen, it's gone, they're checkmate. But in order for humans to evolve into the higher energy, they need to see what's been going on around them. And I believe that's what's playing out at the moment. This squeezing to really, every time the government makes an announcement or something happens, a whole more people, the popcorn pops for a whole more people. So I really focus on this future that I want of free energy, much better resources, clean energy, amazing technologies and what have you. That's going to be a beautiful new world. When I get knocked back and I go into I get drawn into the darker doom and gloom, which is inevitable. I think about a shamanic teaching. So in shamanism, you have your physical body, you have the light, and then you have the shadows. And a lot of people can't journey into the different dimensions in a shamanic journeying. I've discovered, because they're afraid of the shadows, because we've been told not to go there. But that is where our power is. So I get drawn into the negativity. I've already said on here, I've been at home crying my eyes out. What can I do? Lethargy, not wanting to do anything. What can I do? And it's like, okay, sit there and go and just go, right, this is a moment. This is a time. This is the dark area, so I can experience the light and embrace it. And I'm not going to say don't chastise yourself, because we're humans. I'm always going, I should be doing more. But it is like accepting that we have this darkness and being vulnerable enough to explore into it, to learn and to grow from it, and then to come up into the light and go, okay, there's this area of me, but this is the area I'm going to feed, but this area is going to give me the power to feed this area. And that's how I deal with the highs and lows that are going on at the moment. I mean, they're just daily. It's not like you have a good day and a bad day. It's literally hour to hour, minute to minute. You know, something can happen. I've found at the moment, like I can feel like I'm really strong and that I'm really vibrant, and then somebody can say something and it's like, oh my God, I'm in tears because it boom down here, and it's. But have your reality that you want, your goal that you want, the future that you want. Have that written, drawn in your head to focus on when you're in and then when you are in the negative, don't berate yourself. It's difficult times. And I have tools that I can use. I'll go for a walk with my dog. If I'm feeling really down, I love a bath or a swim or sit in a shower. I've come home from work sometimes, stuck the shower on and sat in the bottom of the shower for 20 minutes. I was like, okay, right, I've got this now. I can get up and move on. Essential oils, nice smells. Have little tools in your belt for when you're in that moment. But don't go, I shouldn't be here, I can't be here. Embrace it. Embrace the shadows. Grow stronger from the shadows so you can get into the light.
Have you got an example of a shadow?
For me?
It doesn't have to be personal.
A shadow, it's just a negative energy, a negative thought. So I guess, you don't want to do anything. You just want to curl up in bed and don't do, I just can't do anything today. Depression. Depression would be a shadow, and it's a very taboo subject. Not many people talk about it, but
anger.
When you
There's another
anger.
one. I think men are dealing with anger.
Yeah.
About this whole situation because they want to, because a lot of masculine energy is moving energy and it wants to take action, right?
And there's nobody to act against.
Right, and we are beings, male or female, that have both energy sets, and we have light and dark, and whatever it is that you might be considering a dark one, like your anger, because you're not supposed to be angry, or depression, because that's weak, or whatever you feel, or however you judge that, embrace it and be at one with it, because you've got to be balanced, right? The yin-yang has a light and a dark side in balance, and even within the light there's dark, and within the dark there's light, right? Look at the yin-yang symbol.
Yes. And also, you talk about anger and things. When we suppress these emotions, they become dis-ease in our body.
Yeah.
The liver is very much the organ for anger.
That came up recently.
Yeah.
I think, or was it you that said it to me last time we spoke? But
quite possibly, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was. We literally have a word for that. I'm livid.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, again, there's so much of human nature that we've lost through the programming and the channeling. We've been programmed that we don't get angry. It's a bad emotion, rather than okay, I'm feeling angry about this. How do I express this in a controlled way rather than a negative way, like drinking? I'm getting angry. I need to control it. I'll have a drink, or abuse maybe can, how do I control this in a good way? Because we all have these things. I mean, at the moment,
express in a good way.
Yeah, that's the word.
No, control's equally as valid, but sometimes the solution might be a way to express instead. Yeah, find a place in the countryside and scream your heart out. Yeah.
It's all that, and as the same with the emotions, like the best, purest emotion, I guess, is love. But how do we? That's such a God. That would be a whole interview on its own, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Can I just say, you summed that up so beautifully.
Thank you.
About the whole, shadow self, the light and the dark, because we all carry it, and it's been my experience when. This was years ago when I didn't acknowledge that darker or shadow self. I wanted to not acknowledge it, but when I went to it, that was just such a big shift for me. It was huge. It was like, this is the way through. This is it, to face it.
Yes. Not
to suppress it, not to say it's not there, because we all carry it. It's bullshit if people say, no, I'm all light, I'm I'm all positive vibes. The very nature of reality is set up. You know, the sun casts a shadow.
Yes.
We're in a light-based reality. So it's right there. And yeah, that is the true path, is to be able to acknowledge and not resist the darker aspects of your being. And you're right, you can, I don't say wallow in it, but you have to sit in it and be with it and be okay with it. And that in itself is life-changing, and I don't think we do enough of that with so many distractions. And once again, it's the deeper work that if you're willing to do it, then that's when you grow, and that's when you start learning about who you really are. And yeah, it's a whole discussion in itself, but you summed it up so beautifully. And when I hear someone else say it, it's like, yes, 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 yes. Yeah.
You might be intrigued to hear this, Rob, about the wonderful experiences I've had meeting with the people involved in various regional groups. It's been quite uplifting. And Rob will get this joke because we've talked about this in our very, very early podcasts when I would poke fun at the Love and Light Brigade, who were the big breathy talking sort of virtue signaling types, you know, the love and the light. And what I'm experiencing, thank goodness, is none of that. I'm experiencing what I think genuinely can be a grounded way of saying there are all kinds of people who are into Voices for Freedom, very intelligent, sort of reference and see and work with what's right in front of them types, you know. And then there's people who have spiritual beliefs and all kinds of things. And those who I think are more like me and a little woo-woo, as well as have a vast series of qualifications and beliefs that I'm running into and meeting these wonderful people. No one's doing that virtue signaling crap. No one's, you know, like you have been able to sit here, and I hope you take this as a compliment as it's intended to be, but in a very grounded, thoughtful way, talk about spiritual concepts that doesn't sound like some breathy hippie who then drives off in their activewear and their latest Volkswagen. You know, it's like no, that's some sort of bullshit virtue signaling. This is really ground up sort of stuff, and it's so refreshing.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Really.
But once again, that's just another program, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's being aware of the program, and the thing is, every single one of us, every human being has access to what we just talked about, because it's who you are. It's your innate nature.
But it is who you are. But people are afraid of themselves.
Yeah.
People are so afraid of themselves. Again,
seen anything? Oh, if it's another podcast, come back to tell us about it. But any particular scene that you've seen of that?
Well, so you could go down to this. You know, why are some people successful and some people not? And it's not that they're not trying. It's that they self-sabotage because they're afraid of their own worth and what they can really do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's.
But that's a huge. Chat in itself, unhealed trauma and wounds and and distortions and
self-worth, self-confidence.
Yeah, in fact, we had an excellent podcast guest by the name of Niamh Cronin from Ireland who talked about your original wound and the things that. Again, I'm going to reference it one more time. Check out episode 43. I'm pretty sure that was the episode, because I know a lot of people have listened to that and gone, wow, this concept of an original wound that when people can push at it makes you do things and makes us behave like all the other countries where the signage for COVID-19 is in some sort of yellow and looks either like the backside of a bee's ass or something that would make you go, oh, shock, horror, warning, you know. We've got to start seeing through this stuff. Well, on that note, I think that might be the end of our episode.
Thank you.
I'll see you next time, eh?
Thank you.
Yeah.